Hi, hello YouTube. Welcome back. You got to set it to daylight. Welcome back to another episode of Kerbal Space Program. So, we're continuing our ongoing goal, we're still getting these screen messages, of attempting to, well, our main long-term goal for the series is a Eeloo colony, but our ongoing goal at the moment is to build a Grand Tour craft. That is a ship that is designed to be able to go around the entirety of the Jool system in one go. And it is time to build the next part of the craft. We have already designed, in the last episode, the crew module, which I'll show off very quickly. The GT. Actually load this so we can change the name for the next part. This will be the O2. This will be the what do you call this? The return module. I can actually spell it right. Right, but we don't need this. So, the return module is designed to sit in between the crew module and the scoop at the front. Refueling. And it is basically, its only job basically is to bring the crew back to Kerbin alive. So, we're going to have a crew. I've realised this is going to be a larger crew than I at first thought. I was like, oh, we're going to have a crew of like 3 or whatever. And it's like, wait, no, hang on. We have a crew of... So we're going to be bringing everyone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have to bring a 7-man crew back to Kerbin. Basically just the re-entry part, though. So... I think our biggest capsule, I guess, is that 5-man one, actually. 4, 3, we have yeah, as I say, we have the big Pandora 4-man pod. Of course, we need to return twice as many people as that. We could harken back to the space jank, actually. We could do a cylindrical lander and put the crew inside of it. Yeah, we might do that, actually. Let's have a Tethys at the top. She'll have a 5-man, that would do it. It's the wrong form factor. Shanty would also do it, but it's kind of the wrong form factor, really. We need something narrower. 3. Okay. Nope, still needs to be wider than that, though. Hang on. Search by size. What did we use before? Itinerant? Nope. Capacity 2. Oh, maybe it was. Hitchhiker, that was it. 4 plus 3, 7, right? That should be enough. I'll double check it in a minute, but this is going to need, it's going to need 4 parachutes. And it is going to want, it's going to want, among other things, it's going to want a docking port, because it's going to need to dock with the scoop, yeah, the scoop section above it. Although the scoop may have to have a bit of an adapter, and we shall also bring 3 struts, because we're going to bolt the yeah, we'll bring more than 3, we'll bring 4. We're actually going to bolt this section to the scoop until we're on the return part of the journey. In fact, we're probably going to be strutting multiple sections of the craft together to reduce flex during burns, so I'm actually going to fill that pod up with struts. It's going to be a bit of in-flight engineering with this mission. The white to match the others, because it's going to have its own cover. We need a 2-meter heat shield. And, oh yeah, we do have some different form factor radiators. We could actually surround it with these rather than the individual panel ones I did last time, but I think they're a little too exposed, so what we should instead do is what we, again, did last time. We will also add retro engines, I just remembered. I think that's lined up straight. No, not quite. There we go, that looks about right. So those will be an additional way of slowing down the craft. I don't know there's much point staging them, because they're not going to... there's going to have to be a bit of fiddling with the stages in general, but that should do most of getting them back. There's a few more bits we need to do still. First we need to set those inwards. Alright, now before, our previous crafts, we also had to rotate them a little bit. But this, a setup very similar to this, is what we used way back on the old Space Jank mission, if you guys remember that, or perhaps not. That was able to withstand re-entry, because the radiators themselves are fairly tough and can radiate extra heat. We're also then going to have a coupler. We will be careful to re-enter this thing at low speed anyway. So probably it's overkill and it's not even going to be required. But we're also going to need a docking port, which is in the wrong section. That's why I can't find it. Not the Grand, a Clamptron Senior. So this will dock, as said, on top of the crew module. And before that, I just remembered we're also going to need RCS, because of course we have to assemble this thing in orbit. And each part of the ship is going to need probably its own ascent stage as well. But we can worry about that later. So we want... I have 2. Oh. I was going to say 2 puff monopropellant engines to manage the rendezvous, but that's not as much fuel as I'd like. I don't want to build this bit too large if I can avoid it. We're trying to keep the weight down somewhat. This is already at 12 tons. I suppose we could, we'll add a small fuel tank section. I think will be worth it in this case. The strap on liquid regular engines seem to be a bit more efficient usually. We do got something a bit better than that though. 310. What are we looking at for that one? 290. Oh wow, that's lower than I thought. I thought it was more than that. Yes, that's because of its tiny size. Also 290, but lighter. 47 minutes. We're not taking 47 minutes to dock this thing. Oh, tell you what we can do. We'll replace this with some smaller tanks, because it's not going to need much, just to dock. Okay. Okay, we can live with that. As long as we get it fairly close. During ascent, which should be doable. You could always give it a little extra bit on the stage below, but yeah, that should be good to get it to maneuvering. We'll also, because it might have to spend a bit of time in orbit maneuvering, we shall also give it. Hang on, we cannot use solar panels that cannot be redeployed on this craft. It's something I realised last night when I was just thinking about this mission. We can't use solar panels that can't be retracted because, of course, to undo whatever it was I did there. If we use solar panels that can't be retracted, there is a good chance that we... yeah, I think I took it out of symmetry. I think that's what happened. If we use panels that can't be retracted, when we get to Jool, and we're going to try an aero brake to refuel. If we get to Jool and we try to aero brake to refuel, we'll break the panels. And while we can repair them, we'd like to save the repair kits for when we actually need them, ideally. Just going to offset these so they actually look... Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay. I was going to say some battery, I suppose. That's probably not a bad idea. Not to make this thing too heavy, but... We'll just do a 1K up here. That should be fine. Didn't be using much power. And we'll also add some thrusters. Which is what we forgot on one of our previous missions. Oh. I never thought of just attaching them to the side of the fuel tanks like that, but yeah. That should give us control in every direction. We might even have it. We did find out before that this actually had pretty much omnidirectional control, I think, but just in case. So, return module. Super simple by comparison. We'll maybe even send one of our pilots up in it to actually fly it because it's got crew control ability. That might be easier than attaching a drone part to it. This will never be unmanned, so this isn't going to need its own comm system. So, next up is the GT-03 Scoop. This is the section that will go on the front of the craft that is going to handle refueling. Get rid of that. This is going to be entirely autonomous. Start with a 1 meter core with a docking port to connect it to the rest of the craft. And this will be at the very front of the ship. And I am going to integrate heat shields. I think that's probably the best way to do this. I've had a little bit of an idea how. So, first thing, we need to go to 2 meters. We're going to... yeah, actually, that fits very well. Yeah, the skeletal adapter. So, first of all, utility. Where is that scoop? There it is, the Bassard particle scoop. Which might actually be too small. Okay, it's actually 3 meters. Okay, that's actually larger than I thought, but that's fine. We can work around that. So, we actually need the 1 to 3 meter adapter, or 2 separate adapters possibly. That's still 2 meters. Is there even a 1 to 3 meter adapter, and do we even have it? Do we even have an adapter to that size? Or are we going to have to use an empty fuel tank? We may have to use an empty fuel tank to get that diameter. Wow, that's bigger than I thought. It's too big. Yeah, I think we're going to have to use that. Okay. We'll use something else to adapt it to that size as well. Yeah, I'm surprised we don't have already have an adapter to get to that size, but it's too small. Okay, now, I guess we will use the skeletal to do that part. Right. That will be... Change the liquid fuel and empty it for now. Let's set it to orange. So, that is our scoop that will refuel. Now, I believe we do inline. It doesn't actually have to be the front part on a craft. I'm pretty sure you could put things on top of it and it doesn't get in the way. So what I'm thinking is we then go, we might have to adapt to this, yeah we are, into a 10 meter heat shield. Which will allow us to shield both the craft and some extra bits. Like we could put one of those on. Could put a 3.75 meter heat shield and that would probably do it. That would probably shield the front, but because the landers are going to be quite large, we're also probably going to have to do a little something else. But again, I'm just checking for... Do we really not have an adapter for that size? That doesn't have a node in it. We have a tube. I think it just has different lengths. Yeah. Oh, we really don't. Okay. In theory, we deploy that, but with the scoop running... Oh, does it generate temperature? Oh, it does. 150 kilowatts. Okay. We'll also have to account for that then. And it'll need... the other thing is we need to vent that 150 kilowatts in such a way that it doesn't make the craft wider than the shield. So... How much heat are we looking at, say, a gamma? 325. Obviously, like 2 of those would do it. Oh, they're not huge, actually. Yeah, we'll probably get away with that, actually. Yeah. Okay. That's nice and easy, then. Yeah, do we do 2 of those? Or do we do something nice and form factory? Could potentially. How much do they do? 25. No, we need 300 something, wasn't it? Yeah, it might be good to use those, actually, because they're non-folding. They should be hard to break. They're not rotating, though, so I might even have 4. That's some extra just in case that we're at a bad angle and the sun's heating us up, although it shouldn't be much of a worry by the time we're at that point. So, this will need some extra components, though. We are first going to need plenty of power, because it's going to be good at the dock. It's definitely going to be unmanned at that point. This needs to be able to potentially shuffle itself around the craft, I think, a bit. No, it should be okay at the front, actually. There's plenty of power. It will also need a communications network. We're going to go with a 32. That will go for 4, just in case. I'm going to put these at the front of the craft, underneath the radiators. Shouldn't matter, because they're not going to need to be extended while... they're going to be retracted, rather, when the craft's attached. But anyway. So... The only other thing it will need is power generation for when we're getting it to the rest of the craft. I believe that should do it. All those panels? Yeah. Oh, can those retract? Not retractable. Okay, no, not those. Oh, yes, that's it. We need the box version. Should go for these, because that should still be fine. Not going to need that much power. We don't need to run the radiators. Well, it's just docking, so okay. It will also need docking capability. So let's give it some thrusters and whatnot. About halfway through our episode, just checking on time. But we're making good progress. It's also good. Now this is going to need a full set of 4 thrusters. Because what we'll do, what we've done before, we'll put that there. Move those around a little bit. But we'll move them around and we'll move them down. That way they shouldn't be... not that it matters, I don't think. I'm pretty, like, 100% sure that Kerbal doesn't simulate damage from RCS, but at least that way it definitely looks like it wouldn't be damaging the solar panels when it fires the RCS thrusters. Okay. That should be all that's needed to run the scoop section. And again, we should be fine for temperature, yes. So, there's the GTO3. Next up on the list, we have built the crew module, we built the scoop, we built the return module. We now we need to build the landers. This is where it gets complicated. So, GTO4. The other thing is, these 2 landers are going to have to be about the same weight, because they're going to need to, or at least I'm going to need to bring some kind of counterweight. If they're not, because, of course, we're going to have to balance them. We're going to be mounting them on either side of the craft, so they need to be at least roughly balanced. This will be the, we'll call it the Tylo. Actually, we'll call it the Tyrant. But it'll be the lander to land on a Tylo. Right, so get rid of all this. This is a manned lander. We will bring a crew of 4 down to the surface. We're bringing a tourist with us. I want to bring this tourist to land on the surface, and I want to bring 3 crew for each of the landings. This lander will need to be the most reusable, because it's going to have to land on 4 different planets. So we also need to make sure it's quite rugged, because if it breaks, we're in trouble. That scuppers everything. So we are first going to want, not the atmosphere pressure, we're going to want a convertitron, because this needs to be able to refuel itself. Yeah, it's going to be a big lander. It needs to be able to basically land, process, or refuel itself and come back. Oh! That might be something I have to address, actually. One of the things I realised, I don't think the crew module has the resource scanners it needs, so that's something I'll have to come back to in a bit. But anyway, let's first do this. So we need to land on Tylo. How much delta V does that take? DV Matt, tell me. It takes 2,270 to land on Tylo from an orbit of 10 kilometers. We are going to want probably about 5k delta V. Which is not an insignificant amount, to say the least. We're going to make it quite a wide profile lander, because we don't know how rough the surface is going to be on any of these moons. So I'm fine with making this a little wide and a little lumpy. Nice wide footing. In fact, we're going to use the heavy legs, because again, as we said, was that the heavy legs? That might even have been the heavy legs. Yeah, because we need this thing to be quite rugged. And it is going to need a decent bit of thrust to weight. I mean, that will... So we're about half the way where we need to be on fuel if we use that engine, but that's just a rough guess. What's our thrust to weight with one of those? 3.5. Okay, so gravity is... I know the gravity is high. I don't believe it's cripplingly so, but it's certainly something we're going to have to account for. What will a poodle get us? Not enough. Getting towards there on the fuel level, but not enough on the delta V. I'm also going to add the drills now. Actually, one thing we need so much. We need drills. We need a ladder, because I know Tyler's gravity is high. We're definitely going to need to make sure we can actually get out of the pod by climbing. Yeah, it might be best to design some of those things first. And then perhaps a medium. Yeah, okay. We put ladder on that, and this will be another one we'll test on the launch pad. Put that about there. And then we go. Where's the long ones? Pegasus 3s. Now, if this looks like it would have the characteristics to land on Lathe, could we reconfigure the... No, we can't really because we've got the docking ports already installed. I don't know where else we'd put them because we sort of designed this craft to be inline. So, that'll be the landing. Oh, we also want to move this in and strat it. We should have auto strat. I think we can actually auto strat it and that will... Auto strat enabled. We'll try that. That should stop it moving. Oh, you can actually seal these off, can you? That's kind of neat looking. Yeah, we'll do that. Make it look a little bit like it's part of the craft or something. Right. Of course, the advantage this lander does have is it doesn't need heat shields. So, we are going to need more fuel. We're going to bring another quad of... if we bring those, they do block the RCS thrusters, which we are going to need because this thing needs to be able to redock as well. Could drop it down a bit, I suppose. Yeah, okay. Now we move it back up again a bit. Okay, well, that should be fine for that. Ladder still in place. Drills, we will also need cooling for the drills because me and a friend realised on a little mission a while back that they can overheat, and that was a bit of a problem for the both of us, shall we say. You're not under utility? We do have full-size drills, right? Drill-O-Matic Junior. How can we have the regoliths, but we haven't got proper full-size drills? Am I missing something? Hang on. We do. I was going to say, we should have Drill-O-Matics somewhere. Right. Especially since I think we already did some mining back on, like, Asteroid a while back. Oh, shoot. That's the other thing we're going to need. We're going to need rock tanks. Mind you, they can go empty. In theory, they'll never actually be full when we're flying. But we do have to account for the mass of them. Okay, so that will be to mine the ore into. How much heat do those drills generate? Drill-O-Matic Junior. Where is the full-size one? Why can't I seemingly find it? Seven and a half electric charge a second. Well, 22.5 electric charge a second, huh? Hard cooling 100 kilowatts. 600 kilowatts. Let's see. 13 kilowatts? No. 6 kilowatts? No. 13 again? No. Game loss. Where's our 2 meter ones? What do they do? 15 kilowatts? There. How many of those would we need to get it to a reasonable level? Not sure. That's fine. That's fine. We'll just use with like a medium. Yeah, 50 kilowatts. What's a high do? 600. Why is that civic there and not on the other tank? Need to put them there, is that why? What the heck is going on here? Hang on. I'll go there. And we want yeah, we have 2 larges, that might even be... Actually no, I think those are better, right? Those are more weight efficient? Yeah, those are lighter. Okay, so 2 of those. No, they seem to want to... Something to do with them themselves? What about these? If we do 2 of those. That's weird. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, what were these? 50? Okay, that's fine. We'll have 4 of these. Mount them on the outer things. Okay, that'll handle heat. Power we're also going to need quite a bit of. Because these are going to be power hungry. I'll have 2 extra batteries. We could use fuel cells, potentially. We're going to have liquid fuel and oxidizer. Oh, 0.3 a second. That's not going to be enough. Yeah, no, we're going to need some chunky solar panels. 45 a second. That would do it, right? Hang on, what do the Drill-O-Matics use? 7.5 second. 15 a second. Yeah, we can go for 2 Copernicuses and hope that we're not so far out that we lose a bunch of efficiency and they don't work properly. Okay. We'll go with that for now. Now we do have to... We have to actually land this thing. And we need about 5k Delta V. So that's going to be interesting. No, wait. No, we don't. No, we don't. I've just remembered because we're refueling on the ground. However, we are going to need a decent bit. 3.2 is nearly enough. We do need a little bit because it has to be able to come back up and still have enough fuel to do another landing. Although if we planned it so that we landed next on a really low gravity one, so if we went straight from Tylo to like Bop or something, I can't remember which the low gravity ones are, but basically I need to check that we've got enough to do the landing on all 4 planets. And we're going to need more power. Can it create liquid methane? It can. We'd have to worry about cooling, but that wouldn't be so much of an issue if we took straight off. I think ideally we don't want to be running that. That would have enough thrust to weight. 3k Delta V. It would be really... You'd only have about 800 to do a landing. What does it take to do a landing on the other planets? Lathe takes even more. Bop is only 220. Bop and Pole would be doable. Val would just about be doable. Yeah, so as long as we go straight from Tylo to either Bop or Pole, that should be doable. Hang on, have we got any better performance engines? Because it's kind of getting a bit tight. That's even less Delta V, but better thrust to weight. Liquid methane again. I'm a little worried about keeping the fuel cooled, given we've also got to be running the drills and we're a long way out, and I don't know how much power we're going to actually have leeway-wise. Now, we don't want to just keep adding weight to this thing. We don't have RTGs yet, do we? No, I don't think we actually got any of those yet. We could go nuclear. We could install nervers on it and just make it liquid fuel. If we were to convert this to liquid fuel... Oh, our thrust to weight's still really low. If we had a Trenkov as well, this is maybe getting a bit silly, but we convert these to liquid fuel. Oh, it still wouldn't matter because we've got nowhere near enough thrust to weight. Okay, that's fine. Gravity's too high there. Yeah, so it might be returning to the old, so I find anything better. Sounds nice and efficient, but too heavy, but not powerful enough. Vectors, hang on. Ah, that's plenty of power, not enough efficiency. How about one vector? 3,000. And it does do thrust gimbaling very well. 3,000, good enough thrust to weight for Tylo. I think that might be better, actually. We added potentially a bit more fuel. Just make this a bit more of a sure thing. 3,100. Maybe a little bit more than that. 3,200. Yeah, well, no, we'll go with those. We'll go with those. Cap off those tanks. Yeah, so in theory, as long as we actually maneuver to the low orbit height, which is 10 kilometers above Tylo, we do the landing, we refuel fully, we ditch any spare ore, and then we take off, we should be fine. And then the other planets, it should all be good to land on. Lathe that is not going to be able to land... Yeah, it won't be able to land on Lathe at the moment. Yeah, so I think we just need... Oh, we do need RCS. We do need RCS and we need RCS fuel, so I need to account for that as well. We'll put those... Okay, that should be roughly in line with each other. No, not quite. So I try to go for a little bit of aesthetic with these as well. Okay, 3. Oh, we need actual thrusters as well. Where are those 5-node thrusters? Here it is. Yeah, well, we still only need 2,200 to land on Tylo, so... Yeah, if we go straight from Tylo to either Pol or Bop, just to make sure we definitely have enough fuel to land, because they're both very low gravity landing worlds. Okay. Let us try the quick... We'll do a little bit of strutting, and then we'll do the quick launchpad test. To make sure this is going to be okay. We'll do auto strut on those. And see how this works. Same for you. This speeds things up a little bit. Right. And I'll also do a quick strut on the top of the ladder to make sure that doesn't flex. Okay. Already got it. Oh, docking port. Docking port. Yeah, one last thing I've forgotten. Yeah, would the shield docking port look quite good? Yeah. Yeah, that looks quite sleek. Sleek as this lander can anyway, which is not a sleek lander. Right. Can even test its landing capabilities. I'm pretty sure Tylo... Actually, it might be worse gravity than that. Than Kerbal, I'm not sure. We'll give it a quick shot anyway. But the main thing is going to be the first test, which is going to be can a Kerbal get out, warp to the ground, and then climb back up into the cockpit again. If so, then we need to weigh it out. That's the other thing I need to do. I need to write down the weights of the other two components, because we're going to test the engines. I need to make a dummy weight that's the equivalent weight of the rest of the craft, or mass, I suppose. Right, so far, downwards seems good. Okay, so walking to ground level, perfectly fine. Get out the lander, do stuff on the ground. Let's try returning to cockpit. If that's fine, then we're good to go. And we'll do our quick landing test if it is indeed powerful enough to actually take off on Kerbin. Actually don't know on that front. And we'll be good to launch. Yeah, we can jettison tank content, so we can actually jettison spare rocks. So we'll be able to ditch any extra rocks and take off without them. Oh, excellent. Okay. So, loading test. All good. Ruggedness testing. Looking pretty good. Gimbal. Yeah, you can see what I mean about it having a huge gimbal range. Look at that tilt on the engine. Okay. They're meant to be for space shuttles. That particular type of engine. So, we are good. We can refill both monopropellant and liquid fuel. The other thing we can do, potentially, if we've used some monopropellant during docking and we'll think we'll want more of it, this can land on a planet, refuel, and actually just bring up a fresh load of monopropellant. Because it has some storage. It won't be much, but... So, the Tyrant Lander is ready to go. The Tyrant Lander is 80 tons. This might well be one of the heaviest parts of the craft, and this may indeed cause some balance issues with the weighting. I suppose we could potentially... The lathe mission could potentially be an adapted Tyrant Lander with parachutes. That would keep the weight very similar, and it does have about the right... As long as it didn't have to use any fuel on takeoff, it could potentially do the landing. On land. Actually, no, yeah, as long as it was fully fueled, rather, I should say. Yeah, okay, hang on. So, this is the lander. This is number 1. So this is the Tyler lander. 80 tons. And then save that. Let's load the scoop. Yeah, I might even do that. I might be tempted to just put parachutes on the Tyrant. Maybe take some other stuff off if I can. But we'll see. The core, we already know the weight of the return module is a mere 15 tons. And the scoop is, yeah, not very much either, 25 tons. Close enough to 25. If I overweight it, that'll only increase the chance that we definitely have enough fuel. So, we now know almost everything apart from the lathe lander. So, we'll do the lathe lander. You know what we haven't done any of We are going to have to improve the Tyrant, actually, because the one thing we also haven't done anything of on the Tyrant land is there's no science equipment on board. There's literally nothing. Okay. Ideally, we'd like to bring quite a lot, but obviously weight is already a bit of an issue. Already kind of get a bit tight. But we'll see what we can do. So we'll add a mystery goo. Not mystery goo, a science junior. We'll add an actual mystery goo. Ravioli detector, seismic detector. Won't need that, but the lathe one can bring that. Atmospheric thing. Yeah, thermometer. Yes, we do need to add a survey scanner to the main module as well, so I might have to redo the weights in a minute. What's the other things we needed? Flipping barometer. Still get readings from that. We'll bring the trace gas analyzer for unlikely but potential future missions. I'm probably thinking we'll cut the series, at least for now, after we do the colony landing, and I might try to push towards that soon. There are other games I'd like to play at some point, but so things go. Yeah, I think that's the science equipment it needs. That is still effectively close enough to 80 tons, so that's fine. And yeah, not much has changed there. Okay, cool. So now we'll make the... Well, now we'll end the episode, because we're about out of time for this one. But next episode, we shall finish the design of the ship. We'll make the atmospheric lander. We'll make the engines. And maybe we'll start to launch pieces of it. So hopefully you'll have fun with this one. As I always try to say in these videos, I make games as well as playing them. So if you want to check out any of the games we've made, you can have a look in the description. It really helps the channel. I'll see you guys all again next time. Bye-bye.